Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Helping Children Learn podcast here at CLIU 21 in Schnecksville, Pennsylvania, serving Carbon and Lehigh counties in special education and much more. My name's Dominic Barone, and this episode is about behavioral health consultations, and I'm joined with Joyce Erlinson and our Annie Sullivan Award winner, Olga Stepanova. Yeah, a little golf clap. Ladies, how are we today?
Thank you. Well, morning.
Hey, good morning. Very well today.
So, I know you don't you're a humble lady, and I love that about you. But we are here to talk about you. This show is about you a little bit. You were our Annie Sullivan Award winner, which is basically an Employee of the Year award for all of our educators here at CLIU 21. This year we had two because we couldn't choose between you and Margarita Rivera. Dr. Scott goes up there. He says she doesn't fake kindness. She's a genuine person. That could be about anyone. And then he says, behavioral health consultant Olga Stepanova. What are you thinking in that moment?
It was a surprise. It was a big surprise. It was like a little bit surreal. My initial response was like, I don't even remember. I mean, I was surprised and I'm looking, I see my family coming in, which is a big deal. Then my friends were cheering and I came out and I felt very grateful and very humbled by this award, especially being recognized in a field where I know a lot of my colleagues working as hard as I am. And that part of my job is, most of my job is more of teamwork. I mean, I do have individual piece, obviously we all do. But in order for certain things or for treatment goals that we create to be successful, we need each team member to do their best. And, so my success depends on success of others too. So I was grateful and I was thankful. And it was a very beautiful moment. And I will remember it. It's one of the special moments. And I'm very grateful again and thankful for everybody who took part nominating me and making a decision to choose me as a winner. Thank you.
Joyce, what has it been like watching Olga do this work the last year?
Well, we were so excited when the email came out to nominate someone because we just said, Olga is the one that we've got to give the recognition to. She goes, I know it sounds like trite, but she goes above and beyond. She's with clients after the hours that she's supposed to be with. She doesn't, charge for that or say get paid for that. And she's just there. I mean, she's great to work with. You don't have to tell her what to do. She just knows what to do with the clients. And the clients can't say enough about her or what she has done for them as a family.
Thank you, Joyce.
Usually at the beginning of every podcast, I like to ask, how does the behavioral health consultation and IBHS, how does that help children learn? We talked about this before, philosophically, physically, how do you help children learn?
It's a very interesting question. Sometimes, maybe I'm in the field for so long, it's very interesting, how when you, at the beginning of your career, you have all these philosophical ideas and all things. And I do want to change the world. I do want to make things better in the world, and it would never go away. But also some days you just go there and do things kind of natural and automatically because this is part of my life. I'm happy with what I'm doing. This is my career. But at the same time, you go and you see, okay, most of the things actually right now, especially after COVID was done, after the Zoom sessions, a lot of kids struggles in educational settings because they don't have age-appropriate social skills because they didn't need to have them. And
they're raised by a computer for 2 years, 3 years.
and it's not their fault, and it's not that even like 5 years ago you could say to parents, oh, you're giving your child iPad a lot. That wasn't situation. They were put in that situation and they had to learn how to do it because they didn't like it. And now we're kind of teaching them, look, things are back now to in person and differently, and they kind of relearn new social skills. And each child has ability. Some kids that I work with, they study better looking at the visual lessons. So we talking with teachers and like, let's say if I need to teach them coping skill, I use I use visual social stories rather than before it was books. So it's kind of it's interesting, but it's a different learning dynamics right now throughout like different schools. And I go public schools, private schools, and they all have different philosophies, different approaches, but they all united in one with our services that children struggle with learning things the way that they retain information, and the information can be useful to them and interesting to them. And it's not that sometimes like, they don't want to know. It's just they just learn differently.
And it seems like you're taking a blended approach of, you understand that the past has happened, and so we have to model the future a little differently. But some of the things in the past we have to bring back. So it seems like you're kind of blending that. Am I right? Is that kind of how we're helping children learn? How do you feel, Joyce?
Well, also, like we know, initially we have to build a rapport with the child. So we're not making a lot of demands on the child. We're trying to find out what are their interests, what they like, and then, working with them. We also work with like a lot of cooperation with our speech therapists and our occupational therapists. We get ideas from them, and then we share like what we're doing. So it's like a total approach of how we're coming in, working with like everyone.
I want to talk about what you and I spent a little bit of time, Olga, shooting a video, and the family that you were working with was very gracious in allowing me into their home. And I just want to talk about what a behavioral consultation session kind of looks like with a child, or sometimes with a family. So what I saw was a kid who, was learning how to have a voice, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. I didn't realize the skill sets that a behavioral health consultation, the skills that you work on. Can you talk to me about what you were working on with that young man, and how maybe it doesn't seem typical to what an average person would think is just a therapy session or a psychiatry session?
Well, I'll start briefly, and then Joyce maybe will go into details about the program itself. But I want to point out that our services are taking place at different settings. Sometimes at daycare, school, and home settings. And you observe me in home settings because it's easier to get releases, because in school, obviously, there is other kids. And yes, different settings. And I do work in all of those settings. I do have kids in all of those settings. And what happens at the beginning, any caregiver or educator will express, they collect data, and they will express to parents maybe there's a need for additional intervention if behavior interferes with like educational abilities to learn, or if they're seeing that somehow behavior interfering with the functioning in the learning process in general, being it social skills, being it inability to focus, or little things like calling out. And, we work with children. All of them are amazing children, and some of them are thinking, they're so pure and sincere. So they're thinking, oh, if you give them a question, they don't think about timing. They'll yell it out or shout it out. And also, unfortunately, we do work some kids who experienced trauma in the past, and that trauma still carried some things within them. We don't provide trauma therapy, but we do teach them coping skills, and we develop individual plan for everybody. And the best thing about our program is that no matter what social economic status you are welcomed and admitted. I mean, there are certain procedures, and Joyce will speak more about like details of the program. But I have kids who are unfortunately homeless, and we have families who make six-figure numbers, and they all equal in our eyes in terms of our approaches and as much as we can give and help families. And going back to what you said in this particular situation, that's I've been working for a few years, and the kid used to be not able to speak in general, and expressed his some emotions, like with different types of aggression, verbal and physical. However, with the help of parents, and that's what one of the biggest thing too, we need parents or caregivers to work with us. We're not allowed to be one-on-one with child. A parent or caregiver should be present. If it's in school settings, it's a teacher or aide, daycare people at home. It has to be an adult. And at the beginning, we create initial plan and all the interventions that each part of the caregiver who is involved in child care have their own part. And when we consistent with things, and then we kind of with years gain progress. And I mean, sometimes there is times when we have to reassess and pull back because each kid is individual. Some things working, some not. But in and also BHDs, they get on board if we need more than my hours because I have only so many hours.
What a BHD did you say?
Yeah, behavioral health technicians.
Oh, technician.
They
okay.
kind of work. I create treatment plan, and I have only certain hours as a master level clinician, and then they have more hours. That's how Magellan, structures. But again, I love this program. It's a beautiful program for everybody out there. It doesn't discriminate of where you live, how you look, how much money you make. Luckily, I have a lot of parents who are involved, and in all different situations. It's one of the best things when you watch how parents get so happy when they see their child reaching goals, and it's something. I can't even describe how special it is when a parent sees a child comes home and say, wow, I did it, I got this thing, I reached this educational goal at school, I passed my test, or I passed, which was which took long time, let's say, to prepare them, or have talk with the school to give them extra time. So we work with a lot of different variables to the main goal to help children learn and be successful and be happy in most of the things they're doing. Oh, I mean, I use word happy. I don't want to, I'm talking about dictionary definition of that. When you feel good, and feeling good is a happiness for me. So,
well, and I'm sure that you see these children, the intelligence is there, the IQ is there, but it's a behavioral, emotional barrier maybe holding them back. One thing I wanted to ask, and Joyce, you can answer this. She talked about this family that we spent time with. Parents aren't involved. I'm assuming that some of these sessions are a little bit more family dynamic oriented, I'm sure.
Sure. You have to include the family involved because of the child having, certain behavioral challenges. So we work with our basic service is transferring skills to the parent or caregiver. So, I say, like, my job is to transfer those skills so that way at some point I don't have a job. I mean, like, a great compliment is one parent, the child was taking out all these toys, and the parent was getting a little flustered, and she said, wait a minute, what would Joyce do? Oh, okay. And then she did something. And then she was telling me about it. And I said, that's what I would have done. I would have said, put those toys away first and then bring out a few things. So when parents tell you that, you know that they're following, like, our treatment goals, our treatment plans, and they're carrying them out. And that's what you see. You see parents getting, I should say, like, empowered. I had one client, and the child she was young, and she was hitting the parents, and she said, she was wondering if that was normal. And then we worked on a lot of things that she could do, reinforcement consequences. And then she started, putting those things in place. And then, she was saying, I don't like the way she's talking to me. And then she was getting really empowered with other people, like in her family, like other adults. So it was great. And then the child, the year after, just had no behavior problems when, she was in school. So you see all the progress, and you see the parents, and you reinforce the parents, for what they're doing too.
What I specifically saw with you, Olga, and what I see kind of with the IU at large is, if we can, the goal is that we don't come back. Right.
Correct,
the goal is that you give these children and these parents and educators as well the tools to carry on without us.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. One of the biggest. Thank you for bringing up that. That's a basic. And Joyce mentioned one of the. I would call it the philosophy of IBHS, transference of skills, and I emphasize it with all the parents and all the caregivers, because our services are temporary, and we are there to teach a child in certain settings, certain academic settings, to follow the rules, classroom rules, teachers' rules, or some coping skills to navigate that school world. Parents, how to deal in stressful situations, and then Also, as Joyce mentioned, she gave great example. We provide opportunities for parents to practice those skills that we model for them and we talked about within the sessions. And then we kind of assess and we give them feedbacks. Everybody knows that our services can be until child is 21. My oldest kid was 18 once he graduated from high school. And, we made a mutual decision that, IBHS doesn't need to follow him to college, but sometimes we discharge early, sometimes we discharge late. But I know that sometimes goals change and evolve. But Joyce mentioned a great point. The main thing is transference of skills. And that's a basically philosophy of IBHS, right? And,
yes.
And what's great about IU, actually, and Joyce can talk about it, that we have IBHS and other things that connected together. Can you speak to that?
Real quick, just for people at home, IBHS.
Intensive Behavioral Health Services.
We're trying to talk to the IU people,
Yes.
but maybe a couple people at home, if
Right.
we can reach those folks.
So our behavioral health department has 3 programs. We have a partial program, which is also called a SITES program, which we're in the schools, and we're providing extra like group therapy and individual therapy for certain individuals. And then we have an outpatient clinic, and we have some psychiatrists and a CRNP, a certified nurse practitioner, on board who's providing medication management and therapy to other individuals. And then we have our IBH program, our intensive behavioral health.
Which is you two ladies.
Yes. So, so we have a lot of programs. Jason Savinelli is, the supervisor of all these programs. And I just think this service that we have, IBHS, is, powerful because you're including the parent and other caregivers, and you're having consistency across all levels. So.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to mention. What's happening usually, it's great. We have meetings, and it's meetings as a professionals, as a team, and discussions on like challenging cases. And let's say outpatient part, or we can provide, okay, look, the kid was on meds, and right now parents refusing to give them meds because, they don't, for one reason or another. Because ultimately everything depends on a caregiver. We don't force anything. We can recommend and we can ask or we can suggest something, but it's up to them what route to take. So then outpatient can tell me and it's actually happened within a couple of months. We have few difficult cases, and we did have to have meetings, which included a county. So we kind of well known by now,
yeah, sure.
included a lot of government services in Lehigh County that needed to be present, and different agencies, and we kind of collaborate together. And the good part is that then Joyce, with outpatients, they can let me know the progress on medication, what's going on, because they communicate with psychiatrists and other professionals. And at the same time, when kids are successful in IBHS, we can recommend outpatient,
right? Because
we don't just discharge and that's it. It's like it has to be a discharge plan, and we don't just okay, you're done, you reach your goals. No, we go all the way to make sure that the progress is continued to be there,
and the follow through is finished.
Follow through is
So we also have. If we feel like IBHS is enough right now, and maybe some situation comes up that the family needs some more higher level service, we can also provide for other providers to help them with maybe family based services or a higher level of care. So there's other resources out in the community too that we can refer this client to, and they might come back to IBHS at some point. But we were looking at the total picture for the client and how best we can help them.
So I want to finish this podcast with 3 questions. The first one I was thinking when I was with you, because the father was very obviously involved. You could tell the kid had a good home. When you show up to a consultation, are there times where you think you should be there maybe for the parent more so than the child? Obviously, the behavior is within the child, but externally pressured.
So, I've had a couple of...
Did I say that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Because I think most people, nature versus nurture. It's a kid born this way, or is he born into an environment, and he or she or they? Are these children born into the environment that causes them to be this way?
And some of the parents, maybe they didn't have like strong models when they were younger.
Generational trauma.
Yeah,
Just
so
passed down, passed down.
exactly. And so they're learning like another set of rules or set of like how to work with this child. And then not all children are the same, obviously. I say to this to like the BHTs, the behavioral health technicians too. We have the goals and we work with the family and any other people that are involved with the child to set up certain strategies, interventions, and then too, like you're following that, but then you also don't know why you're especially there. I mean, I've had a couple of grandparents say to me, like towards the end of the service, they said, you were really there for me too. And you didn't realize, because, just by talking with them, just like maybe comforting them, saying like they're on the right track, people want to know too, like they're doing the right thing. And sometimes they don't know that. And so, you're helping them with whatever that they need. So you don't really know sometimes why you might be there.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add to that I tell to our BHTs, that sometimes you don't see progress. Sometimes adults and some parents, they involve in their own issues and their own trauma, being it addiction or trauma they experience in childhood or intermarital affairs or something like that. And when we go there, you kind of could feel, and sometimes our program or when we come to the house, we're the only people at that particular moment in the child's life who can show some stability, who can provide some consistency. We show up regardless of how clean your house is. We show up even after you yell at us and scream. We tell you, okay, your emotions are validated, but we'll teach you how to
have some things
live
to work
differently.
on.
Yeah, we'll teach
I
you how
understand you. I hear you.
Yeah. So sometimes
but this isn't how it needs to be.
And, in a lot of things, there are some cases when I'll come and parents say, oh, he or she behaves differently when you are here. And they listen to you, they don't listen to us. And then we kind of go back to the parents and say, oh, let's evaluate, why is that? And it's a slow process, so each situation is individual. And as Joyce said, sometimes it's people, other family members, who will come out and say, yeah, wow, I didn't even realize that things like that can work. Because, a lot of times it's not a power struggle that matters. It's, it's not who is right, who is wrong. Yeah. It's different issues. So that's what, I look at it, and but I want to let everybody know that it is a tough job. And sometimes you come and you say, oh my gosh, why I'm doing it. But I have great colleagues. I'll come. They have great coffee there too. So I'll come and discuss with Joyce things, and, with Colleen, with Patty, and Jason and other people in the office. And we kind of brainstorm and sit down, take a breathe in, breathe out, and we move on. We're being consistent.
My last question before we end this podcast is, what brings you back every day? Economically, right, you need to earn a paycheck. We get it. But you can do that anywhere. Any menial job can pay the electric bill, I guess. Why come back to behavioral health every day?
So I've been doing this for about 22 years. I've had full-time jobs here at the IU, and I've done this part-time, and right now I'm doing this part-time. But I continually have always had some, individuals that I'm working with in their families. And I go back to like that transfer of skills. I like to see the progress, like how the child has where they were and then now where they are now. I've talked to some parents, like now the child, like when I worked with them, they were like 4 or 5, and then we worked for them a few years. And now, like I was talking to one parent, they were saying how well they were doing in the high school. They were in the band. They had friends, which is a big component.
You saw them at 4 years old.
Yeah,
that's pretty wild.
And I said, "Wow!" I said, "I'm so glad that they're doing so well." And the parents said, "No, they're doing great." So it's nice to see also, because sometimes you don't see that. How they're faring. Like after you worked with them.
You're teaching into the void sometimes, and you don't know where it ends up.
Right.
That's cool.
Right.
Olga, you're our Annie Sullivan Award winner. We're finished with you. Why do you come back every day as an award-winning behavioral health consultant.
Wow, that's
I know
what a
she doesn't like
statement.
any of this. I
Yeah,
know.
well,
We love you.
yes, I already said the biggest statement in my statement, like in the video that you beautifully recorded. But I also say, you know how you talk to you and you ask those questions that we usually work and do every day and we didn't think about. And here comes Dominic and he's asking you, okay, why are you coming back? And I'm like, yeah, why am I?
Reflection's not always easy when you're in the
but
throes.
honestly, it is very tough in terms of timing, and that's why I'm grateful to my family that they're so supportive. But also, it's very rewarding, and actually, I'm learning myself. I'm learning myself about life, about human beings. The good thing for me, no matter which settings and how horrible things are in children's lives, they manage to keep that sincerity and purity in their hearts. And I swear you can never find it anywhere else but in these particular types of jobs, maybe other programs. And you see it in them and it gives you hope for world, for universe. So like I don't watch news or anything, but those kids, you see what they're coming from and you see what's going on in their lives and their parents' life, and they still manage have that the pure bright hearts. They learn each child. There is not a single children that doesn't have it. Each child, no matter what they went through, and us as an adult, sometimes I learn from them. I'm like, wow, look what this little dude can do. And so it is very rewarding, it is very tiring, but at the same time it's something that brings positive things in my life and brings hope for our future of this world, no matter what's going on around us, because this is kind of like a good example of good things are still there.
Do you know how sad I am that we have to stop this at some point? It has been a joy listening to you two talk.
Well, it's been fun. Thanks.
Yeah, and Dominic, I wanted to add when I said that I get very good. I don't want to. I'm not going to mention names. All my PhDs know how much I respect them and grateful to them. I also want to thank my supervisor, Sarah. She was one of the best supervisors I had in this field, and she always goes beyond and above. And I know she's a contracted person, and something she doesn't have to do, but she does. And I want to mention her and thank her.
Beautiful.
So,
she's awesome. She is.
Olga, congratulations on your Annie Sullivan Award. Joyce, thank you so much for joining us. This has been Season 3, Episode 2 of the Helping Children Learn podcast. Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic.